Hey,
turn your.
You there, Rick?
I'm here.
How are you?
I am wonderful.
Okay. If you do you want to come on with face or just do it the way you're doing it?
If it's just fine the way I'm doing it, I'll do it this way. I don't want to touch any buttons that are gonna. I'm not exactly technologically savvy.
I see. That's okay. How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm Bob Spino. Oh, there you go. We got you now.
There we go.
I got him on.
I'm Tony's brother, and that's my friend Rob, and we do the show together.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining
my
us.
pleasure. How you boys doing?
Well,
we're doing great. We're glad to have you.
We're hanging in there. We're glad to have you too. That's so great you came. Okay, tell us about your UCLA career and yourself and everything, and then we'll talk about today's sports too.
Well, where do I begin? I was a walk-on from Tempe, Arizona, when I chose to go to UCLA. I had been the all-state quarterback in Arizona, but I wasn't very fast and I wasn't very strong. And all those things that I was looking for later in my life as a coach, I didn't have them. But I did have the ability to kind of know the position and play it. And so UCLA offered me a walk-on spot. And I took it. And as they say, the rest is history. I went from fifth string to fourth string to third string to second string to first string, back to second string, and then obviously ended as in the Rose Bowl. So I'm very fortunate to have had all that happen to me, and that led to a career in coaching. So it was just kind of, I was in the right place at the right time much of my life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I remember you in that Rose Bowl. I mean, you beat Illinois, am I right? You destroyed them.
Bob, you're not old enough to remember me in that Rose Bowl.
Thank you so much.
Before running water, we had stage coaches, and things of that nature. But it was a treat to get to play in the granddaddy of them all, and a thrill that I'll never forget.
Right, and you won MVP as a quarterback, and then eventually you won. You won as a coach in the same place. And
Bob, on that day, I had food poisoning. I threw up 6 times before the game.
Ooh.
And it wasn't your brother's fault. He didn't do anything. It was we had gotten some salmonella at the restaurant the night before. There were 9 of us, 9 UCLA Bruins that all got up in the morning feeling ill, and seven of them took a pill to kind of calm their stomachs. Those 7 guys slept through the game in the locker room.
No.
I don't know why to this day I didn't take the pill. I just never usually take medicine. And I just was able to get a little jolt of adrenaline when we got into the game, and I never felt any ill effects.
Well, we're glad you didn't, because you played really, really well.
That's an incredible story, actually.
Yeah. And
4 touchdown passes on that day, and we were underdogs. So it turned out to be a whale of a day for the Bruins.
Yeah, I know. And who was the quarterback for Illinois at the time?
Jack Trudeau.
Really?
And Jack Trudeau, I met Jack many years later. He and another guy were running a golf course just outside of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I had some buddies and I were in town for the Indy 500.
Wow.
And so Jack and I were sitting there socializing after a round of golf. And Jack said he tells his son that picture with me on it. He goes, "That's the bad guy." I became the evil villain in the Trudeau house.
I think Jack Trudeau was a sophomore when you played against him in that game.
That's right. Jack.
Yeah, he was a great quarterback.
Had his NFL career. So there's no question. Jack had a good run.
So you've been out of the game for what, 10 years now as a head coach of a major program?
2011 was my last year at UCLA. So yes, it's been 10 years.
So in the course of 10 years, how has the game changed, and what would you like to see improve presently?
Well, the biggest thing that happened since I left was the RPO, the run pass option. The zone read world, which is nothing more than veer offense from the gun, was alive and well. And Oregon and Chip Kelly and those guys had the ability to fake to the running back and then throw to a swing pass. But that was all behind the line of scrimmage stuff. the world where you're actually reading a linebacker now, or a safety, a drop down safety, and if he stays back, you hand it off, and if he jumps into the box, you pull it and throw where he just vacated.
Right.
Throwing passes down the field with offensive linemen literally blocking a run scheme and ending up 4 and 5 yards down the field. That is a completely new world, and that makes it almost impossible for defensive coordinators.
Wow. What do you think of Mahomes and some of the quarterbacks?
What do I think of Mahomes?
Right.
Oh, sensational talent. You know, he is kind of like a baseball player. And I've always felt like if you would recruit an infielder, in the old days, everybody played all sports, right?
Right.
You'd play a guy that would be the quarterback, typically was also the point guard or the shooting guard. He also was the infielder and maybe a pitcher on the baseball team. Well, everybody's gotten so specialized that it's very difficult to find those guys that play multiple positions. As you know, Patrick Mahomes' dad was a big baseball player.
Yes, he was. With the Mets, the Yankees. Yep.
His ability to make throws from all the different platforms that he makes it. If you envision a shortstop going into the hole to third base and making the throw to first, you envision him making the play on a ball up the middle and throwing to first, or the second baseman doing the same, or you can picture what I'm talking about. Those are the throws that Mahomes makes look easy. Right. And that, to me, is the skill that I'm looking for in quarterbacks. And it's why Zach Wilson, the second pick to the Jets, I think he has a real upside.
I think so too. I think he's going to be awesome. I really didn't believe in the last guy the Jets picked, Darnold. I mean, because when you lead the nation in interceptions, you know, your last year in college that you're playing there, that's a problem. And his first pass ever was a pick six with the Jets. So I just didn't think he was the right guy. And he's SC, you know how it goes.
You know, I still think Sam Darnold's got a lot of upside. I'm expecting good things with him in Carolina. He has that bravado that you can't teach. He had it at SC. He was kind of like John Wayne. He just ride in and saved the townspeople.
Right.
Now, when he lost those receivers and he kept believing he could throw it into those tight windows, you pointed out he had a lot of interceptions. But I still think he's got the stuff to be a really good player. And I'm hopeful that he and Joe Brady together at Carolina will be a nice marriage.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know what? Maybe it's just the Jets. It seems like no matter what the Jets do, something goes wrong. But you know, I do agree with Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be really good. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yep. We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Now, you tutored Troy Aikman. Is that right?
I did.
What was he like, and what was that like?
Well, he was, you know, perfect. I mean, he was tall.
Oh yeah.
He threw the ball beautifully, tight spiral, could throw it with all kinds of dimension, meaning trajectories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, after I met him, I called my mom and dad and I said, "What the hell is the matter with you two? You couldn't create me like that? What I mean, what the heck?" But no, Troy's greatest skill, though, and I still believe this to this day, was that he wanted to work on things he wasn't good at rather than things he already had accomplished. Mm-hmm. He definitely wanted to spend time learning more about defense. A lot of guys in the world of football, and really in any capacity, any profession, they're nodders. They'll tell you, "Yeah, I got that." They're afraid to show any weakness, to show any vulnerability. Troy was never that way. Troy always wanted to work on things that he thought he was deficient in. And so because of that, he shored those up quickly. And obviously it turned to a Hall of Fame career.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Pretty much Oklahoma changed the whole offense for him when he first got there.
That's right.
And then he got hurt. And then, UCLA fortunately got him.
Barry Switzer went back to the wishbone with Jamel Holloway.
He sure did. And didn't they win it with that?
Yeah, they won it. They won the national championship, which obviously made the decision easy for him.
Right.
And then he said, "Troy, you can go anywhere in the country. I'll help you." And when Troy chose UCLA, because they were going to have a senior quarterback that year, and he knew the job would be open when he would become eligible, which leads us to that transfer portal world that we're living in now. But Troy was willing to wait, right? And it turned out to be a great thing for both Troy and for UCLA.
My brother told me about him because my brother was his trainer for, the years he was at UCLA. And he goes, Bob, he was the quietest guy on earth. And then he's very neat. He's very neat. And he goes, he's so quiet. And yet he was so great. And he's even a great announcer. He is so smart. He gets a bad rap because, a lot of people don't like Joe Buck. And I think they're both good. But, I think Troy's amazing. And anything he does, he really learns, and he's really good at what he does. There's no doubt.
Again, getting comfortable doing things he was not comfortable doing. You're right. He was very shy, very reserved.
Yeah.
And yet now he's a national personality. He talks on TV for a living. So it goes to show you
he does it well. We'd love to have him on, by the way.
He deems that aren't up to snuff.
No. And he's honest. And, I know other guys you can tell when they're not as on it as they should be, but not with Troy. He's great.
Right. He's terrific. And I like Joe Buck too. I've gotten to know Joe. Yeah. I think he's terrific.
Right. We'd love to have Troy on. We're trying to get him on. My brother is working it, but I don't know if we're gonna try. But yeah, we love it. I would just sit there and listen to him all day. Whatever you say, Troy. It's great. But
now, Coach, if you were back at the helm, would you see the transfer portal as a net negative or a net positive?
Here's my take on the portal. I think it was something that the NCAA decided they had to do. They were, getting all these attacks, as they deemed them, for student athlete rights, whether it be, trying to get some more money from the big, golden goose that is college football or what have you. And they said, if we give these kids the right to transfer, we're giving them something that doesn't cost us anything. Now, in the end, I'm very worried about the transfer portal because as we speak today, there's more than 1,400 kids in the portal that went in with a scholarship. And as we sit here today, don't have one. They all think when I go in, I'm going to come back out. And there's just no way for there to be 1,400 happy endings in this deal.
No,
there's not any scholarships out there. So a lot of kids that left thinking that grass would be greener are actually going to be outside looking in, trying to figure out how they're going to pay for college and so forth.
Right.
And I think that's a bad deal. We're in this deal for education. 3% of guys go to the NFL, 2% go to the NBA, whatever those numbers are, they're not changing. They're not changing. So we need these kids that come and play college athletics and entertain us all to be getting what they deserve, which is an education. The scholarships are worth a lot of money. And it's ridiculous to think that they're not being compensated by saying that they're on scholarship. But when they go in this portal thinking I'm going to get more playing time someplace else, they really are giving up giving up the one thing that they had coming to them, which is the education.
Education.
And coaches, and the vast majority of coaches are wonderful people because they like teaching. They like being around kids. They like the relationships. But there's a pressure to win. And you win with better players. So if you have somebody on your roster that you might have misevaluated and he can't really play like you thought he could, and he wants to transfer, there's a pressure to say, yeah, you go ahead and transfer, and I can get somebody better than you to come on and take your scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that there may not be a place for him to go. Right. And that's the place where I find ourselves in a real conundrum.
Right.
And you may not find somebody better either from the coach's end.
That too.
Yeah. I mean, every college athletic department football program has a board up in their office that has everybody that's in the portal. And they have a staff of people that are evaluating those guys right now. Is this guy better than what we currently have? And if he is, they're trying to make moves.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? You might not even play good if you leave the team you're on. Everything changes. You never know what's coming. So
100%. And at the end of the day, if there were a way to guarantee all these kids their education, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Right.
I mean, we've seen so many successful transfers over the years. Joe Burrow comes to mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Those are wonderful stories. But at day's end, you got to graduate. You got to have a chance to get through school so that you got a springboard in life. And that to me is what matters most.
That's, it's the same with the drafts in every sport, if you think about it, Rick, because you always hear about the guys that are in, but what about all the guys that get drafted and aren't in, that don't make it?
No,
So,
exactly right. Hey, the NFL stands for not for long.
not for long.
It's 3.4 years is all
Right.
it is
Right.
the average career. And you
Right.
better have life after football planned. And that's what this degree can do for you. And we don't talk enough about it, graduation and such. These
Yeah.
rules are going to change. They're not going to put as much pressure on these universities for graduation rates, using the transfer portal as a reason. Kids are wanting to move, and we understand that. But at day's end, we really owe it to these kids to get their degrees. And I'm not sure how we're going to hold anybody's feet to the fire to get that done.
Do you think the schools charge too much money now?
Say
Do you
again?
think the schools charge too much money for the kids now? Because it was never anything when my brother went, pretty much.
Oh, you mean in terms of what tuition
To go
it
to
is?
school there, yeah.
Oh, it's off the charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what business hasn't gone, north in terms of charging more?
Right.
You charge what the market will bear. And as we just learned with Varsity Blues, that there's a lot of demand for these great educations and great degrees.
Mhm.
So if you can get it, why wouldn't you charge it?
Oh yeah, no, if they're gonna get it, right. It's just like a play. If you can get more money, you're gonna get it. You're gonna take it.
Yeah.
But I mean, so you're a lawyer, and people, I don't think people know that, right?
I have my law degree, and I
Mhm.
passed the bar, but I have not practiced law for some time. And I'm hopeful that I can stay employed where I don't have to practice law.
Okay. All right.
That's the ticket right there.
That's
Now,
it.
That's
Coach,
the
I got to
ticket.
ask you.
That's
Oh,
the
sorry.
ticket.
Go ahead. I just got to ask you, Coach, your alma mater, UCLA. Why is that football program not consistently a top 20, top 10 team? It just seems like all the ingredients are there. I just don't get it.
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Listen, I love UCLA. My son's on the staff there, right? So I'm always hopeful that they'll turn the corner. But at day's end, you get what you pay for. And I'm not talking about coaches. I think there have been plenty enough good coaches there. Carl Durrell, I still think I can coach. Chip Kelly,
You
Jim
can
Mora.
coach. You were awesome as a coach.
There's no question that we all can coach, and we all didn't just fail because we forgot how. What happened is they stopped successfully supporting the program with finances for nutrition, with finances for strength development, commensurate with the competition. When you look at Alabama and you look what they do for their kids nutritionally, and you look at UCLA and you see what they do for their nutrition needs, it's not the same. It's not close.
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies, okay, so what are we going to get? It's the old thing, if you build it, they'll come. If you build the facilities, and they now have beautiful facilities, but again, they built it without a dining room.
Mm-hmm.
There's no dining room. How are you going to get the kids to be as big as what you're playing against if you play Alabama for a national championship without feeding them the way Alabama feeds their kids?
Well, you're right. My brother always said that's important.
At day's end, it just comes down to what are your expectations and how do you finance them?
Right. And you know what? The first part's interesting because sometimes I wonder what the expectation is. Just put a team on the field or put a team on the field that's going to win.
And there's two different kinds of expectations. There's the ones you put out publicly,
right?
And then there's the ones that you talk behind closed doors. And you finance. Here's what we need. Here's what we're trying to get. But if they're not the same, you're putting the coach in the street.
Right.
The coach now has to figure out, okay, I've got to meet. And when he does catch a little magic in a bottle and say, okay, we're gonna have this win, he's more likely to leave to go someplace where they are financed.
Sure.
So I think Chip's doing a whale of a job. I like what they're doing offensively. They got to get bigger, and I got to go back to nutrition. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's. Can he recruit and get the kind of team like the Bruins had back when Terry was, running the West?
Yeah. We had Dick Vermeil on.
Did you?
A couple of days ago. He's like an old coach. He is. It was like interviewing Ditka or Lombardi. He is firm.
He's as good as they come, as organized as they come, as passionate as they come. Yeah, Vermeil wore it on his sleeve.
He still does. He
Yeah.
wore my show. He couldn't get on it in the beginning in the Zoom. He goes, "You got to fix that Zoom." I go, "I'll go punch it out."
You're
right after
asking
the
us
show.
dinosaurs to do a lot here. You got to realize that, Bob.
Yes. Oh, I know. Hey,
So
you know
are you doing any broadcasting, Coach? Speaking of dinosaurs doing stuff?
I am still on the CBS Game of the Week college football. We still have the SEC package for a few more years. And then I do Sirius XM Channel 84 radio, ESPNU radio. And that's a daily show with my buddy Chris Childers.
Oh, that's great. Actually, I have Sirius Radio. I'll listen to your show. I'll definitely listen.
Channel 84.
84.
Me and the show pony.
Oh, the show? Okay.
I named him the show pony because he's just that out there. He's a prancer.
Someday, Rob and I want to come on your show. We'll talk to you. How about that?
Done deal.
That's what
Done deal.
So we're aspiring to here. Show pony.
Turnabout is fair play.
There you go. Okay, tell us about Colorado and Washington after you left UCLA.
Colorado was a great experience. Obviously, my first head coaching job. Wonderful chance to be a head coach. We had a really good team. Bill McCartney had been the previous coach.
Yeah.
Left me with a lot of good players. And we won 20 games in our first 2 years. And finished in the top 10 both seasons. So got out of the gates great. Then you learned the other side of the coin when, hit a little adversity.
Sure.
But we loved our time in Colorado. The problem is the people that were, in charge of the program, the athletic director, the president of the university all left. So the people that hired me that created our little, brain trust were gone. So new people came in and they were fine, but I wasn't their guy. So it just became apparent to me that when Washington came and courted me, that I should really consider it. And so we decided to go to Washington in 1999, and that led to the Rose Bowl. I'm still the only guy to be the MVP and the head coach of a winning team in the Rose Bowl.
That's right.
And so the granddaddy's a pretty good deal, and we love Seattle.
Right.
I mean, you could say Colorado is just now recovering from your departure. I mean, they tanked after you left.
Gary Barnett had some good years after I left. Remember, Gary beat Nebraska 66-30 that year that Nebraska ended up playing for the national championship. And that was the year everybody realized the BCS was broken. But they had some really good teams with Gary.
You beat Drew Brees in the Rose Bowl?
We beat Joe Tiller and Drew Brees in the Rose Bowl. I talked to Drew just the other day, and I said, I can't believe you lasted this long, because I sure as hell didn't.
Well, he was pretty good,
Oh, boy, was he good.
Oh,
and he's such a good guy. He's now going to be doing the Notre Dame broadcasts.
That's so funny because, like when I was a kid, Purdue would always play Notre Dame almost every year, and it was always on back year. And when I saw him go into Notre Dame one year and just beat them, I'm like, this kid's going to be great. It's so hard to do in Notre Dame, especially back then. But he had the moxie, and he did it, and he became a great player, a legend, really.
Yeah, special player.
Yeah,
he had the ability to throw people open more than anybody. You've heard the term back shoulder throws, right?
Yep.
Drew Brees took back shoulder throws, which at the beginning of that era, when people started talking about him, were throws into the boundary, where you throw it to the sideline side of the receiver, and he'd twirl in the air and make the play on the sideline. He took back shoulder to almost every throw on the field. And in so doing, really revolutionized the position. And that's why his numbers are off the chart.
They are off the chart. And he was amazing at Purdue as well. I mean, it just was.
Yeah. He had a game where he threw 84 passes.
Really?
Yeah. It was Jim Chaney who was his offensive coordinator. And then Jim was at Georgia when Georgia played for the national title against Alabama, with Jake Fromm as their quarterback.
Right.
With Jake Fromm as their quarterback, they averaged somewhere between 17 and 24 passes a game. With Drew Brees, he threw 84 times in one game.
Really?
Same coordinator.
Really? Now, you were with the Ravens. What was being in the pros like?
I loved it. Brian Billick was great to give me that chance.
Yeah.
Love the players at that level. You can't believe the skill level. The NFL, they are as advertised. They want to be great. They want to be coached by experts. And so if you have something you can tell them that will help them stay in the league a little longer, they'll listen and they'll work their tails off for you. So Baltimore was a great experience for me.
Yeah. Who was your quarterback at the time? Steve McNair?
We had McNair after. My first year was Kyle Bowler.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Kyle got hurt, and we had Anthony Wright play.
Right. The back.
And then we signed Steve McNair in year 2 and went 13-3. We had a chance to go to the playoffs. We lost to the Colts the year that they ended up winning the Super Bowl over the Bears. Lost to them, and we made a terrible throw on the goal line. And it still haunts me because I actually went over what we couldn't let happen on Friday. We had this goal line thing, and I had it in my meeting room. I said, Todd Heap has to stay in this window, because if you float to that window, that free safety will be there. And Todd got there, the window got squeezed, so he tried to go to the other side, just being a football player, and Steve just forgot and threw it, and that free safety picked it off, and that was our really only legitimate touchdown chance of the game, and we got beat, I think 15-3. I mean, we had a chance to take a lead. We had the home field. It would have been us in that Super Bowl.
Wow. And Indianapolis destroyed Chicago in that Super Bowl, if I remember right. They beat them pretty bad.
They got the Bears pretty good that night. That was that rainy night in Miami.
Yeah. And the opening kickoff was run back for a touchdown, right? By Chicago?
That's right. Hester.
Speaking of Miami, Coach, do you believe that Tua can be a successful franchise quarterback for them?
Yeah.
He's a Dolphin fan.
Tua was a guy in the RPO world. I mean, if you watch what Steve Sarkisian did with Tua and then saw what he did with Mac Jones, it was different. Tua, he loved that ability, that quick trigger out of the RPO. So whoever's coordinating the Dolphins needs to get that portion of the offense going to and then marry the other stuff along with it, the third down packages and the red zone packages and stuff. Tua has great touch. He's got that great cachet, but he's going to have to really buckle down and become a student of the game if he's going to take it to the next level.
There was actually a time in the beginning of last season when they were thinking about maybe shopping him, or they benched him for a while. They put Fitzpatrick in a couple times.
We keep hearing that, but I'm not sure that's actually facts.
Right.
There's a lot of scuttlebutt out there that people love to float because obviously they got to fill airtime. But
right, that's what I say about ESPN.
I would say that Tua is going to be given an ample opportunity to be the starter there and to be given a chance to be, very, very good. Remember, there were no OTAs. There were none. This COVID thing knocked out all that preseason stuff that almost every rookie quarterback gets. And he was hurt. I mean, he didn't have a bunch of throws himself, waiting for his body to heal. So I think this is his rookie year, in fact, and I'm long on Tua.
Do you think they could beat the Bills?
Exactly, Bob.
Do you think they could beat the Bills? Because the Bills are awful good.
I love the Bills. I love what Josh Allen's done. I love the moves that they made. That receiver they got from Minnesota is a fabulous player.
Diggs,
Yeah, Diggs is unbelievable, and they've got pieces all around him. Beasley's a heck of a player.
Well, he sure is.
It's a magic offense. I kind of thought they were going to get a running back early in the draft. I thought
they should have got the guy from Alabama.
Had Najee Harris going.
Yeah,
remember Brian Dable. Dable was at Alabama, but he went earlier than that, and so I think they. And then so too. Then I thought, okay, then they'll take the kid ETN from Clemson, and he went. And Jacksonville snagged him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Bills' running game, because that's all they're short of in terms of getting to the Super Bowl.
I totally agree. And you know what? The thing is, Pittsburgh wasn't even talking about getting Harris right up until like the last couple of days before the draft, and they just popped him. I think he's going to be like steal of the draft. I kid you not on that. And I think the Browns got the defensive steal of the draft. That guy from Notre Dame's a monster.
He's a sensational player. I think probably the MVP. Devontae Smith was, off the charts and deserved the Heisman. But the guy that gave Mac Jones the real comfort was Najee Harris.
Yes. Oh, yes. And Pittsburgh, they did it again. They snatched that running back. But I do agree with you, but do you think anybody can beat Kansas City though?
Oh yeah. Obviously we saw some deficiencies in their offensive line,
Well,
and
they
as
rebuilt it
as
though.
good as Kelsey and Hill have been, they're a year older. And a year older means you're losing half a step. And when you lose half a step, those two guys lose half a step, just like or Zach Ertz at Philadelphia. And, after that Super Bowl year. So as you start to wind down, I know you're getting paid monster money, but people are looking for young legs.
Yeah. And you know what, with all due respect, like since Kansas City lost Kareem Hunt, and, I'm not going to get into any of that, but he was a great player for them. I thought the two of them, if they'd stayed together, could have went to the Hall of Fame together, him and Pat Mahomes, because they never recovered totally.
It was an untenable situation. They had to do what they did. Cleveland, rolled the dice. Kareem Hunt obviously was wrong. There's no way around it. He's being forgiven, and hopefully he'll make the best of his opportunity.
I think he will, but even though Kansas City won the year after he left, I still think they're short a running back. And when they drafted the kid from LSU,
I love that kid.
You do?
I love that kid. I think he's, again, no OTAs, no nothing, and he got dinged up. If he can stay healthy, and I think his body is the kind that can, like a Ray Rice, I think he's special, particularly as a receiver.
Right. He was an all-purpose back kind of thing. He's always, But you know what? I was on Kansas City Facebook before that draft, before they drafted him, and I kept saying the Chiefs are going to take a running back in the first round, and I got ripped on for that, and they did, because they until that time they never really replaced Hunt. They needed something, and finally I had to say, you know what? If they're fine at running back and they're not going to pick a running back in the first round, well, Andy Reid's talking about picking a running back, so he knows more than you guys. So, and then everybody shut up. And it turned out they ended up getting the running back. They took him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the 32nd pick, which is where they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that was a value pick and then some. And so it's easy to see why Andy Reid's at the top of the heap.
Oh, yeah. And we're gonna try to get him on, because my brother and Rick Burkholder, his trainer, work together. He's going to try to get him on for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't wait for that.
Yeah. Well, you'll enjoy it. He's got some good stories.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you know he was the offensive tackle for Jim McMahon?
Is that right?
Yes. You need to get some Jim McMahon stories from Andy.
With the Bears?
No, at BYU.
BYU?
Yeah.
I didn't know he went to BYU. No kidding.
Yeah, he's a BYU guy. He's a Cougar.
I didn't know that. Oh. I did not know that.
Going back to the NCAA, Coach, do you see the playoff expanding to 8 or 16 team? Because me personally, frankly, I'm getting a little tired of the Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson invitation.
Right.
Yeah, we've got a little fatigue there. There's no question. I do see the playoff expanding. I think my hope is it'll go at least to 12. The 12 idea means, for me, there'd be 2 teams out of every Power 5 conference, an at-large and a group of 5, the best team from the group of 5 all getting in. The committee would seed them, and the top 4 teams would get a bye. That, to me, now allows for teams to decide, do we want to have divisions in our conference? Do we want to have a conference game? Really, truthfully, only the SEC conference championship game is a big draw on television. The rest of the games are kind of, because we know Ohio State, we know Clemson. The Pac-12 game switches from Friday night to Saturdays between Fox and ESPN. That deal's going to come to an end here. Pac-12 is going to need a television suitor. And the Big 12 game is, kind of a neophyte. I just think 2 teams out of every league, seed them. I think we'll get some great football. It doesn't mean that Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State won't still win, but we'll get great games along the way, which will remind us why we love college football.
Right.
Couldn't agree more. And I've never heard of the 12-team concept until this moment. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think 12's important. More games. And this nonsense that people have about it's going to ruin the regular season. My argument is just the opposite. The regular season right now has too many Alabamas versus Furmans. And no disrespect to Furman, but we don't need to know that. We don't need to see that game. We know who's going to win.
That's right.
We do that to set up a bye, create a practice for Nick Saban. And that's not Nick's fault. He's doing what the game does for him. But we need more good on good. And if you play good on good, if there's 12 spots, you're going to be less worried about, we stub our toe in this particular week.
Right.
This opening weekend, we're going to have Miami and Alabama. We're going to have, Ohio State plays a conference game against, I think, Minnesota. We've got some good games to start the year, but then everybody goes and kind of protects themselves, and tries to get some games that are clearly one-sided. We need that world to stop. The college football fan deserves a seat at the table, and 12 teams, maybe even more, but I think keeping in mind how many games you want kids to play, I think 12's the number.
Well, you know what? My brother and I talk about that a lot. Because when we were little, Nebraska and Oklahoma would play these Northeast Nebraskas, the first 4 or 5 games of the year. And a lot of that had to do with padding, the win total for you. And then the little schools wanted it because they'd make money,
Right.
So that's why they always did it. But I understand.
Let's build in this next deal some money that gets trickled out to the little schools.
There you go.
And let's also get a group of 5 playoff. The top 4 teams in the group of 5 play to see which team gets in.
Right.
And to me, just as we saw BYU play Coastal Carolina in the middle of the year, they made that game up. Literally within a week's time, they created that game, and it became one of the most entertaining games of the year. At week 10, we can determine who the best 4 teams are in the group of 5 and play little week 11 and week 12 games that put that group of 5 team in a position to be in this round robin for the championship.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, people forget there's 120 Division I teams, FBS teams.
130.
130, exactly.
130.
I mean, 12 is a little bit better representative sample.
And maybe 12 start the year with a chance. Maybe 12.
Right.
Certainly the 65 teams that are not considered Power 5, I put Notre Dame in that number because they're considered power. But the other 65, and I know Cincinnati doesn't want to hear this. I know UCF doesn't want to hear it, especially with Gus Malzahn there.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike Oresco can speak till he's, blue in the face. They're not going to get a chance in this current format.
Right. That's exactly right. So you coach UCLA. You want to tell us about that for a couple of years?
I loved it. It's my alma mater, but be careful about your dream job. Sometimes it's a nightmare.
Yeah, right. It's a bad dream. Yeah.
Listen, no bad people. I just went there when resources were scarce, when, we were fighting to, kind of keep above the Mason-Dixon line, if you will. Right. And because of that, it was not as advertised. Had I had another year, and I know a lot of coaches say this, but had I had another year, Brett Hundley was going to be ready to be the quarterback, and we were getting ready to be good. And Jim Mora took advantage of those guys and won 9 games his first year and 10 each of the next 2.
Right.
Those were a lot of those guys were kids that I had recruited. Not to take away from Jim, he did a whale of a job, but ultimately, I'm a little bit upset that I didn't get to finish what I had started. But you know what? It put me on the road to being a broadcaster. I got to spend a lot of time with my youngest son, who's now a first alternate for the U.S. Open.
Right.
He's
really?
He's a golfer. Yeah. Keep your fingers crossed that somebody has going to have a baby next week and Joe gets in. So
there you go.
But hey, it's been great. I got no regrets. Happy as I can be to have had the life I've had in sports, and hopefully can continue to be at least a voice trying to make it just a little bit better.
I got one question. You were in the USFL for a little bit, which was crazy. It was a crazy league because it was all passing. Now the NFL's all passing. What was that like?
The USFL was a wonderful experience, and as you probably heard, they're coming back.
I did not hear
That's
that.
awesome.
USFL
That's great to hear.
Going to try to start again next spring, so I'm curious to see what they're going to do with all these teams. But I was a big fan of it, having had a whale of a time playing in it, and having coached in the Alliance of American Football. I can tell you, there's enough kids out there that want to play, and they can play well.
And that was really looking good. that tanked. I don't know how, but there needs to be a USFL type league out there. I think it would prosper.
Absolutely. There's too many football fans out there. There's too many people that want to be entertained. They like putting a couple dollars on the game. It is absolutely something that's going to fly. It just has to be organized in such a way that it can last through those growing pains. And if it does, there's no question it'll have a nice, healthy lifetime.
And there was a lot of great players in that league. Jim Kelly was in that league before he went to Buffalo.
Jim Kelly, Steve Young, Rick Neuheisel.
Right.
Come on. Those are some of the greats.
That's right, Rick.
Absolutely. What was Brady like coaching against? Tom Brady.
Say again?
What was Brady like coaching against? Because I know you were with the Ravens and you had to play him sooner or later.
I used to go out in pregame and watch the great quarterbacks because I was, a student of that quarterback position. I'd go out and watch them warm up. And I saw Peyton Manning go through almost like a dance routine with Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. It was beautiful to watch. I watched Tom Brady go out there and go through a really cold, windy night and just basically throw balls whistling through that wind as if there was no wind.
Wow.
I mean, I call him the angelic assassin. He looks real, all-American and all that stuff, but he will cut your heart out. And he did it over and over again. And that's and listen to this. In the first time in the modern era, all 22 starters at Tampa Bay are coming back. Why? They know they have the magic potion with Brady at quarterback.
That's right. People want to play for this guy or with this guy.
100%. He's got that.
Yeah, I mean, Dick Vermeil said the same thing.
Yeah.
The quarterback position is clearly influential, clearly important, straw that stirs the drink. But when you have somebody that also galvanizes a locker room and it makes it a we environment rather than a me environment, it's a huge deal. And that's why it's intoxicating. That's why all those guys want to come back to that particular bar.
In any sport, that's true. And I think a lot of times the fans don't understand that, if just because you're a great individual player doesn't mean it's just more about you as compared to being a team player. And that's a big, big difference.
That's exactly right. And it's not, we learn all sorts of innovation and people are always looking for new ways to invent the wheel. But at day's end, the team and the chemistry of a team is what matters most. And if you got the right guys at the helm, your leaders, your best players are also guys that everybody wants to be around and respects, now you got magic.
Yeah. It didn't surprise me at all that they won. I mean, the game was home too, so that really helped them.
Yeah. I mean, it was made to order. It was as advertised. It was really a cool thing. And the GOAT is clearly the GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about this thing with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers? What's going on?
I think it's unfortunate. Aaron Rodgers is a hell of a player and actually a really nice kid, nice guy. So I got no ill will for Aaron, but it was wrong for that news to be hijacking the NFL draft.
Yeah, right.
That was wrong. That was a night for those kids, and they stole the news. And to me, that wasn't right. He owes Green Bay as much as Green Bay owes him in terms of what that relationship has been. Listen, people want change, right? Public office, we have term limits. You want to move somewhere else, then that's fine. But don't make it, a bad guy. There should be no bad guy in the Green Bay Packer Aaron Rodgers saga. It should be, God, what a great run. We're going to try something else.
You know what? I don't think Green Bay wants to give him up. I think he wants to leave more than Green Bay.
Oh, of course they don't want to give him up.
No.
He's a savant. He's a freak show as a quarterback. His arm talent's off the charts.
Right.
But he's also, at least from a media standpoint, become a little bit of a diva. And that becomes hard.
Right.
That becomes hard because all of a sudden now in a locker room, does everybody want to go with Aaron? And I've been told, yes, but he puts on an era outside the ropes that looks completely different. And it's unfortunate.
Tom Brady's probably sitting there going, go play in the AFC. Make it easier. Breeze is gone.
Boys,
You'll be gone. It'll be great.
Boys, I got to run. It has been a blast talking to you.
Thank you. Please come back.
Football. We all love the game, and we're going to be treated to some more. And good news, It looks as if we're on track to have the fans back, and let's all acknowledge the fans make the game as much as anybody.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Where's everybody without the fans?
Amen.
Please come back. We loved having you.
Oh, anytime. You guys are great. I'll talk
you,
soon, and keep your fingers crossed that Joe Neuheisel gets in the U.S. Open.
Yeah. I'll say
make some calls, Bob. Make some calls.
I will do that. We got Pete Sampras on. We'll talk to him about it.
All right, buddy.
He'll
talk
do
to
it.
you soon.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Bye.